All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Danny Z. This is wine time. We're up to like the second installment, and I am like super excited about it because I've achieved more in this week because my wife has told me to. And we're going to cover that because my wife has told me to this particular week than I have in like the past 6 months. So I'm pretty excited about that. The topic today, the Beatty title that I used to draw you in if you're watching this is my secret sauce to stop fighting over domestic duties. And I gotta warn you, I'm gonna be looking over here sometimes because like that's where the computer is and that's where my notes are. So you're watching, it's like seeing behind the curtain. It's like watching the magic happen. I'll commentate whenever I feel it necessary. Anyway, my secret sauce to stop fighting over domestic duties. A lot of young parents, they find themselves they don't realize that, you know, you're still the same you and he's still the same he, or if parents, you know, whoever you are, they're still the same them. But now you got a baby and the stuff that you had to do around the house, it hasn't gone away. If anything, it's increased because all of a sudden you got a baby who's like eating and pooping and spitting all over, like literally everything. And so those kind of things can pile up, and there can be a lot of emotional baggage that comes into play in this particular situation, simply because you're dealing with, you know, your mother and anyway, we'll get to all that. All right, so I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty. Here's the secret sauce. This is how you can like solve all of yon problems. At least that is what I'm claiming in this video. And if they don't, you can have all the money back that you paid to watch this video. Okay, 100% guarantee. All right, cheers. Okay, like step number one, stop thinking that you being, and I'm going to assume that you're a mother because I don't know how many guys are going to be searching for this topic, but let's just assume, shall we? Let's assume that you're a mother. Okay, stop thinking, but you know what? I can probably, we can divvy it up. Stop thinking that you, the mother, or if you're the husband, stop thinking that she ought to be able to do everything. Like she was previously doing all the housework, and then baby came along somehow, and now there's all the housework plus baby time, plus I don't know if you work, but if you work, plus there's like work time. So it's Naomi Wolf wrote a really, really good book called The Beauty Myth, where she talks a lot about this, called The Third Shift, where you've got effectively like the house duties time, and then you've got your work time, and then you've got baby time. It's like, oh, no, it was the beauty regime that all women have to go into. Anyway, that's a different topic. Let's not talk about that. But it was a good book. You should read it. It's very thick though. I think you can get it on audiobook. Anyway, stop thinking that you ought to be able to do everything based upon, and as you think about it, as you fail to do it, because it's hard, you know, caring for a child. Like we had a tremendously needy baby. And it was very difficult to keep up with things, right? So then you're going to have guilt about not living up to expectations. You can like, am I disappointing him or her or whatever? It's a really, really bad place to be. So number one, just like stop thinking that you ought to be, because number one focus right now. Hang on a second. I got to chill something out on my phone. Like, go away, please. You. Dismiss. All right. Hopefully, we're still recording. Yeah, we're still recording, right? Okay. Yes, we're still recording. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so stop thinking that you can do it all, because parenting is a huge job on its own, you know, let alone when you've got all the house chores that you got to keep up with. Like, that's an expectation too, in and of itself. Do you need to? No. Is the world going to keep spinning even if it's not in, you know, like home beautiful, perfect? Yeah. Like the world will keep going, and God's green earth will keep on sprouting brand new leaves, okay? So like knock that off, all right? Easier said than done. So we're going to get to the more practical aspects of it, but that was like the first thing that came off of my head. Just stop expecting that of yourself. And hubsters, stop expecting that of her, okay? Don't be a dick. Okay, number two. you need to like fully own, and this is in lead up to the other stuff, okay? Because we're going to talk strategy here. Being a business advisor and running a company, you know, I can't help but bring some of the systems over that work for me over in this area, over in this arena, over to the arena that I'm talking to you about right now, which is relationships. So it's you're going to get some of that optimization strategy stuff. Like consider, you know, this is a gift. Consider it free, okay? So number 2, just own the fact that you're a badass if you're the mother. Guys, like, take a back seat here, okay? This is for the girls. Own the fact that you're a badass and that you actually, like in most cases, grew an entire other human being inside your body, and then in a lot of cases forced that body through your vagina. That's killer stuff, okay? That's nothing to sneeze at. That's nothing to little good housekeeping Betty Crocker housewife crap about, all right? That's like something like, whoa, war paint, you know, like put that on your face. That's more like it, you know? You get up and you drink the blood of your enemies type of stuff, okay? It's really serious stuff, and you got to give yourself credit for that, okay? And if you can give yourself credit for that, then you can take these next steps, which is like, this is where all the power comes from, okay? We're going to round it out. We're going to round it out solid here, so stay with me, okay? So the next one, you need to stop letting your memories of your mother or the people in your life, or especially the guy who happened to contribute a rather pleasurable ejaculation into the mix in order to create this child. You got to stop allowing them to run the show, okay? This is your life. You're the queen. This is your home. This is your domicile, like everything, you know, like the Jewish Hebrew word for mother actually means home. So you're like the person who sets the whole tone there. This is like everything yours. This is you. And I think deep inside, like you get that, you know, maybe not even that deep. Maybe some of you are like, whoo, clapping and stuff, right? This is you. This is your domain, okay? You got to stop letting other people weigh in on this, all right? Except for me, okay? Keep listening. The next one, stop letting your guilt, past, mom, dad, we covered this a little bit, memories or whatever, run the show and influence your way of thinking that, oh, the passive comment that my dickhead father-in-law made or mother-in-law made about not keeping things clean or whatever, like, so little Billy, her son, so Billy prefers to have his sandwiches cut diagonal with the crusts cut off. Like, big deal, right? This is, so it's like time to grow up. As soon as you have a child, it is time to grow up, okay? It's time to like put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants. Like, I tell this to girls all the time. Put on your big girl pants and be a boss, okay? Be the boss of your life. Be the boss of the house. Boss that guy around, okay? Because he's waiting for it. We're going to get to that. He's waiting for it. I've spoken about this before, but he is waiting for that, okay? This is where your step up level comes, okay? But we're going to get there, okay? Stay with me. Okay. The final way we're doing this, the reason I'm trying to like build you up here and let you know how powerful you are, how this is your domain, this is your house, this is everything you, where you are running the show, it's because now we're going to use strategy and we're going to actually, and there's going to be some people who don't like this, but you know what? They can suffer in their jocks, as we say in Australia. Now is where we use a little bit of strategy and a little bit of optimization, and we just like bend we're going to use some leverage here. It's like positive leverage, all right? We're going to use some leverage here in order to get what both you and he or she want, really want, okay? So when it comes to the domestic duties, like you might have even forgotten about we're talking about domestic duties. Like, oh, I did, you know, like I read this article recently about like what are the things that most people, most couples, most young parents bring up when they go to therapy, because obviously they're having problems. What's the thing they bring up? Like fighting over domestic duties was top of the list, okay? So in order to solve that, we just need to find where's the hack here, you know, because I'm all about habits and I'm all about rewriting habits and stuff. So where's the hack? How can we break this problem right in half, and how can we replace it with something that's super sweet, that's actually going to build you up? Because here's the deal. I don't believe in just like level I don't believe in flatlining. I just don't think that exists, okay? Either you're fighting and you're like going down, or you're building something new and you're going positive, and that's good. But even if it like appears to be a flat line, you're still gonna go a little bit up or a little bit down. Obviously you wanna go a little bit up in those cases because it does matter over time. But I mean, we gotta not just nullify this bad habit. What we gotta do is we gotta like make a real change, and we've got to turn that into a super positive, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to strategize, and I'm going to assume that I'm talking to a young mother, and I'm going to assume, because statistically you are, I'm going to assume that we are dealing with a young father, right? Okay, so cheers. Here's where it gets interesting. Here's where you're gonna learn some superpowers, all right? I do this all the time. We are going to, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, the 80-20 rule. If you're in the entrepreneurial space, you undoubtedly would have. You might know it as the Pareto principle. Pareto, I think it was an Italian economist from way, way back. And what this guy said was that effectively, it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the things that you do are going to get you 80% of the results. And then the other 80% of the things you do are only going to get you 20% of the results. So if you only have time to focus on one thing, what do you think you should focus on? The 20% that's getting you 80% of the results. Now, in order to discover that, you have to do a little bit of investigation. Okay, you have to kind of understand, all right, well, what is giving me the good results that I want? What's giving me the bad results that I want? You know, this is where the habit rewiring thing comes in, because you do things so often on repeat, you don't even know it, you're doing these things, right? And they are giving you a certain result. What that result is, we don't yet know. We got to figure that out, okay? We're going to get there. Right now, we're dealing with bickering, fighting over the domestic duties. So, the domestic duties have to be done. If you had the money to hire a regular cleaner, I recommend that, you know, like go ahead, you know, if you got that money, go ahead and splurge. If you don't, or if you would rather, you know, grow as a human being, then let's take this option, okay? So we're gonna 80-20 things here. First, and this is like, I speak about this in my book, The Happy Marriage Hot Sex Handbook. You can get it for free in the link below, okay? Remember that. Go ahead, go down, I'll wait. Go down there, click it. It'll open up into a new tab. It'll be sitting there waiting for you, sister, okay? You go ahead and do that right now. You back? Okay, fantastic. All right, so as I say, I speak about this in my book for free down below. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify some love languages here. Now, back in, I think it was the 90s, a chap wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages, and this effectively, it's not an exact science, you know, it's a little bit art, a little bit science, but he basically said that everybody communicates and receives, they give and receive love in 5 distinct ways. And you're always going to have your primary and your secondary, and then everything, guess what, you know, primary, secondary, 20%, sound familiar? You're going to have your primary. That's actually 20% of the deal, okay? So we're getting into it. 20%, one of those things is going to be your primary, and that is what is going to hit the hardest. Both in turn, and it's mostly to do with how you and how your partner receive love. That's a big deal. Now, the 5 ways in which people receive love are physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, and quality time. Okay? Physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, and quality time. Now, you've got a task that needs doing in the form of domestic duties. So let's just say cleaning up the kitchen after supper, whatever, okay? Kitchen's a mess, somebody's made the mess, maybe you got Uber Eats, but bottom line is that it's a mess and it needs cleaning before the morning, or else, right? Or the or else fairies will come out and they'll eat you alive in your bed. So it's gotta be cleaned. Therefore, how are we going to get it clean? We know that that's the situation. Now we got to apply a solution to that, okay? So, what you need to do is investigate, and I'm going to get to why Okay, I'm gonna get to why past the point of the simple, why, because you want because it's gonna be better for your life. We're gonna get to that, but you got to do some investigation to figure out what his primary love language is. Okay, and you'll probably, it's just gonna be like I do a lot of personality typing. I'm an ENTP from Myers-Briggs, and I'm just like a cut to the chase kind of guy. It's like, can we just have a chat, and we'll just sit down and I'll ask you some questions that I need the answers to, and then you just tell me honestly. Like, can we just do that? That to me is the most direct route, and that's the route that I typically take with my wife. Been married 15 years, hasn't failed me yet. So that's what I would recommend. You might just want to passively watch and just see what does he really respond to. But you know what? I would try the conversation route. Nobody hurt, nobody died from having a conversation. Okay. And I would sit and I would ask him, and I would come to these. You can actually take the test. There is a quiz. Okay, the 5 love languages quiz. Send it to him on Messenger. Say, hey, could you just take this for me? I'm curious. Everybody's favorite topic is themselves. Whenever anybody looks in a picture where the possibility of themselves, they are looking for themselves. Everybody's favorite word is I. Okay? So he's probably going to be game. It's like, you want me to talk about myself? You want me to fill this out? You want me to fill out this form that's inherently going to make me feel like I've been heard? Like, talk about a lead magnet. I mean, that is killer. It's like, hey, take this quiz. That's why quizzes work so well as lead magnets. Anyway, I digress. Send it to him. Go looking for it. It'll be in the description, probably. But go looking for it. Do some homework, okay? And you're going to want to figure this out. Now, once you've figured this out, okay, so you've got part of the 80-20, right? You know what's going to affect him the most. You know what way in which he is going to feel most loved. I'm going to give you an example. For me, my primary is, I don't know, it kind of goes back and forth, but it's like physical touch and words of affirmation. I like to be told what a legend I am. Don't we all? I mean, yes, we do, but for me particularly. Okay, so leave a comment. Tell me what a legend I am. In addition to that, physical touch. I honestly think physical touch is my primary, because anytime my wife touches me at all, we're not talking sexual touch necessarily. I mean, that's good too. But anytime she touches me, like she deliberately touches me, and I'm always touching her. Must be it. Well, she's a hottie too, so of course I'm always touching her. But anytime she touches me, it's like tingles. It's like it really, it's just like, oh, she touched me. And we touch a lot, but it's like one of those, it's like lightning. Okay. So you gotta so physical touch for her, the way she receives love is actually acts of service. Okay. So there were two different she does something for me. Do I appreciate it if she cleans up? Of course I do. Thanks for doing that, baby. Will I even mention it? Probably not. It's like, oh, the house is clean. That's nice. Yeah, okay. Somebody must have cleaned it. It's not my son. It must have been her. It's more of a noted, kind of thing. For me, acts of service doesn't do it. But physical touch, absolutely. I physically touch her. It's probably on her bottom. But that's the way I'm trying to give her, it's like I keep trying to give it in the way that I receive it. And that's the problem, because you try and give in the way you receive, and they're not receiving in that way. I don't know, you're a mother. Let's assume that you're a mother. How touched out are you? How much do you not want to be touched right now? It's like, I've always got this child next to me, and it's great, and I love it. I love him or I love her. But for real, I don't need too much extra touching in my life. That's the way, I just think my wife, we were very kind of almost hovery parents, especially her. It's like always in arms, it's that in arms parenting, or wrapping the baby around or using the baby Bjorn or whatever. And it's like, I got enough touch to last me a lifetime, buddy. Now, in saying that, love languages change, don't they? Okay, so you got to be ready for that. But they don't change very often. They don't change quickly either. Okay, so don't stress about that. But if we can figure out what the love language is, okay, then you need to set up a habit so that you can give it in the way in which they need to receive it. Because it doesn't do me any good. It does me some good, but it doesn't do me much good to go touching her as much as I do. I touch her because I like to touch her. But it's not like she's like, in the way that I'm like that. For her, it's acts of service. So we got to figure out, now we've got the 20%. Now we got to figure out the 20% of the 20%. You can always go another level. Levels, Jerry. You can always go another level, okay? So, physical touch. We're going to figure out. Let me scroll down on my notes here. So, when it comes to physical touch, you need to load up on the touching. If the test is positive for a physical touch, just touch them. Affectionate, okay? Hold their hand. Rub their hand. Rub his arm. Give him a massage. It doesn't have to be a long massage, any massage. She comes up behind me and she just, she's not very strong. She's a bit of a pixie. It's like she tries to be strong on my shoulders, but I'm like twisted steel and sex appeal, ladies. Okay. So it's like, it's all like, you might not see, it's under this, kind of ruffled exterior. You've got, like the body of a beast. Okay. So she's back there. It's not like she does anything, but it's the fact that she's touching me. Wow. And the more she touches me, the more my love tank fills up. And eventually, you fill somebody's love tank up. Not just physical touch, all of these. You fill somebody's love tank up enough, and eventually it's going to overflow. And that is what we're trying to get. You might be thinking, domestic duties. I'm fighting with my husband or my partner. I just want him to take out the bloody trash, And that's fine, but we got to get him to the point where he's actually going to do that. And how do we do that? This way. Okay, and I'm going to get to the why. I'm going to get to the why this is important. Because you might be thinking, he should just do it. Why doesn't he just do it? Doesn't he know how hard I work? Doesn't he know how much my feet hurt? Let's assume that he doesn't. So either you can sit there and you can piss and moan about why he doesn't or how he doesn't, and instead, or you can think, okay, well, I'm going to take this, like, Yehu's advice, who's got an accent I can't really quite place. He might be Irish. I'm going to take this guy's advice and I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to apply some strategy because I'm a badass and this is my home. This is my domain and I am just going to make it happen. Okay? So that's what I would suggest. All right. So physical touch. We've already talked about physical touch. 7 acts, not 7, you don't even know that it's 7, but acts of service. Okay, now this is the easiest one. It's like, can I do something for you? They're like, yes, you can do that, and then whatever they say, just do it. Okay, so this is like a brief, so what I do for my wife, she's an acts of service person. Cups of tea, right? I figure out, and this is where the investigation comes in. You will do bits of investigation. As soon as you figure out what their 20 is, then you're trying to figure out what the 20 of the 20 is. It's like physical touch. Where does it, if I touch you here, and you're going to have to go through some trial and error here, it's going to be fun. Don't let that scare you off. If I touch you like this, would you rather I touch you like this or like this? What's the diff? Left hand, left arm, right arm. What is the diff? I'm like this, I'm like this. I'm like, I would rather you touch my left arm. Why? I don't know. Because I'm weird. I don't know. But that it is the way it is. So when I was trying to figure out my wife's 20 for her 20, I'm like, after I do what? Say, finish this sentence. When Danny does this, I feel totally filled up. I feel totally loved. She's like, make me a cup of tea. That was an easy one. It was like, bunk. So I'm like, all I got to do is build that into the system. Easy to build it into a system. All you got to do is establish a trigger and a reaction. So what was my trigger? I make myself a cup of coffee. Baby, you want a cup of tea? She's like, yes. She probably drinks like obscene amounts of tea, and she does. I'm going to have to cut her back. But what do I care? It's filling up her love tank. She's feeling totally good. She's feeling like she wants to do anything for me. And like it like the ultimate, if you can hear that and it sounds like a jet taking off, it's actually my washing machine. I don't know why it makes that sound, but it does. You're going to have to suffer with it because I do. Anyway, the end result here is that each of you wants the other person to be so loved up on you and feeling like they want to do everything for you. It's like you heard that parable about the guy who sold his pocket watch without a chain. That way he could buy a comb for his wife who had the long, luxurious hair. for Christmas, and the wife with the long, luxurious hair went off and she sold her hair. That way she could buy her love a chain for the pocket watch. That is the ideal. You might not think so, but that's the ideal situation here. That is what you're going for. All right? Don't you hear that and you're like, oh, where do I get that fairy tale? This is how you get the fairy tale, okay? So just like listen up. All right? Next one, words of affirmation. Just if it's him, heap the praises on him. It's positive reinforcement and it works, okay? It truly does. We're like dogs, you know? All we want is pats and chimkin nuggers. That's it. You know, when it comes to words of affirmation, tell him how thankful you are that you did that you took out the trash, tell him how happy you are that he keeps himself in shape. Tell him how wonderful he's looking. Tell him what a wonderful father he is. Interesting story that I heard the other day. And it's a bit too long to go into, but effectively the way you treat somebody is the way they're going to act. You treat somebody like an idiot and they're going to act like an idiot. You treat them like a legend and they're probably going to come back and act like a legend, because all of a sudden you've got a different expectation for them and they're thinking, wow, I've got to kind of live up to this. Even subconsciously, I've got to live up to this. It's the reason why when you build a ClickFunnels, when you build a funnel of any type, if you've got a button and it's like, yes, I want to add this to my order, what's the thing underneath? It's like, no thanks. I don't want to add this to my order because I hate puppies. It's like, that's negative reinforcement. These are subliminal things, folks. Okay, so all you got to do is the subliminal thing, right? That's it. That's it. Just use the leverage that I'm telling you how to use. He wants to be told what a legend he is. That's all. Tell him what a legend he is. If that's his love language, then give it to him. Heap the praise on him. And then sit down and say, what's your 20? You know, like what, when I say what, do you feel more loved up than ever? And he's going to probably shock you with some things. You're going to learn something about him. He's going to be like, when you tell me what a great father I am, you know, or when you tell me how thankful you are that I made the bed or whatever. Like, I make the bed every single morning. You know why? Because my wife loves it. What is that? It's an act of service. And making her a cup of tea, it's like the only two things that I do. Make a cup of tea, make the bed. Doesn't take that much time. Like less than 5 minutes to make the bed. It's like, throw the covers up, smooth it out, you know, make it nice and pretty for her when she gets into bed. How long does it take to make a cup of tea? I don't know, about as long as it takes to make me a cup of coffee, and I can do them at the same time. Multitasking, baby. Okay, so it's not hard. I'm not saying anything here is hard at all. Like, that's why I'm the laziest person that I know. Like, that's what they say. It's like, if you've got something that needs doing and needs doing efficiently, give the job to the laziest person on the team, because they will find the easiest way to get that done. That's me. Okay? So figure it out. Figure out the easiest way to get this done. This is what systemizing and optimization is all about, folks. Okay, next one, gift giving. Again, if it's his love language, then grab the gifts. It's like small ones. You don't have to break the bank on this. It's not like you got to buy him a friggin' Ferrari every other day. But little things. Show up with little things. Show up with things that say that I put a little bit of thought into this. You know, listen to him. Watch the things that he likes. Watch the things like and again, if I give you what? Let's say I could give you a gift that is $10 or less, or whatever your budget is. Pick a budget. Let's say I could give you a gift that is $5 or less. What would it be? He might just say, oh, when you go out and you're going for your run in the morning, that one time you came back with a to-go coffee from me was just lit up my morning. It was like, that is so nice. You know? You're not going to have any difficulty getting him to talk about this, because everybody's favorite topic is who? Themselves. Everybody's favorite name is their name. Everybody's favorite word is I. All right? So you're not going to have any difficulty. The thing you got to do after you get all his out is you got to say, okay, now we're going to talk about me, and I need you to ask me these questions as well, because we got to get you taken care of too, sister. Okay? For real. Right? Anyway, moving on. Quality time. If it comes to the domestic chores, like, do it together. If his thing is quality time, like one of the best ways that this could be the case, one of the best ways to achieve non-arguments, although if this were the case in your life, you likely wouldn't even be watching this video. But the best situation is that he or you, where you know already. Actually, no, you might be watching this because most people speak in their own love language. They don't speak in the other person's love language, and so it goes all wrong. If somebody is already doing the domestic duties, then and it's not like that's active service, you might not even notice. You know, if it's not active service for you, then they already have it done, but you're not watching the video anyway. So let's move on. But quality time, okay? So if you can tell him that the way in which I receive love is like more than anything is acts of service, and his is quality time, then you know how you make this work for you. Okay, if you if you clean up the kitchen after supper, like every single night, I will feel more love for you than if you did X every day, all day. I'd feel more love for like the small amount of time that you invest to clean it up. Okay. And that can have a really positive effect on you. Like we obviously want to shower him with love. You know, we want to really boost his love tank, because then he wants to give you the love in return. He wants to give you that love because it's just overflowing, right? Now, if you can figure out what his love language is, let's say it is quality time, then what's the best thing for you to do? How about you like double up on this stuff and you give while you're receiving, he cleans, you sit at the counter and you just talk. You know, quality time is my son's love language, and do it for your children, folks. My son's love language, quality time. So he and I go for a walk every single morning, and we do exactly what he wants to do every single morning. And it doesn't take that long. He always wants more because he's always having such a good time. But I purposefully set it up that way and figured out what his love language was. That way I could try and fill, because I don't have all the time in the world. I've got to work. I've got to do this. In order for me to continue giving them and providing for my family in the way that I want to, I got to speak in his language as much as possible, as quickly as possible. That way I can get it. That way I can fill him up and leave him feeling like he's been seen, heard, attended to, all that. Okay. So quality time. Figure out, do it together. You know, many hands make light work. If your love language is not acts of service, then, you know, how about you guys just like many hands make light work kind of thing? But his is quality time. What's a way we can do this? Can we just talk? Can we talk about your day? Can I ask you questions? We'll do it together. Can we listen to music? Can we dance around? What if I put on like something skimpy and we did it that way? Like you just got to watch me prance around, you know, it's like, would you do it then? It's like, just figure out whatever's going to work for you guys. Okay. You guys are in it. I did that, like a success. And I don't like this whole situation where, you know, we decided that we'd had a successful marriage, and so we decided to end it now, like we'd come to the end of the road. No, I heard recently a very interesting quote. It says the success of something is determined by the essence of something, the end of something is determined by the essence of it. You don't get to decide at the end of the road when you guys are done with each other. You don't get to decide then whether or not you've been successful. Okay. You always have to do this budget to actual things. Like at the beginning of your lives, at the beginning of your life together, you have to decide, what's the budget here, right? I'm speaking in big business terms, but what's the budget? What do we define? What will be a successful marriage? At the beginning of your marriage, for me, it was we die in each other's arms at around age 120. We die in each other's arms within like seconds of each other. That to me is a successful marriage, okay? So if we get to age 50, we're like, we think we're not having very much, you know, fun anymore, and so we've had a successful run of it, and therefore we're going to call it quits. But we think it's been successful. No. Okay, so that's the actual. What was the budget? The budget was die in each other's arms at age 120 within like 4 or 5 seconds of each other. The actual is we're splitting up at 50. That's a hell of a difference. You compare those two, it's like that's a big old failure. That's not a success. So that's a failure compared to the goal that you set at the beginning, okay? If you don't have a goal right now, you better set a goal, and you better set a lofty friggin' goal, okay? Otherwise, you are going to achieve basically bupkis. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be good for you, okay? So let's move on. You get to the point where it's like, now I need to hack these things. Now I need to find the 20% of the 20%. Once you get you figure out what his or her primary love language is, then it's like, well, how do I hack that? How do I get it done as quickly as possible? And again, I speak a lot about this. I speak about this in my book. Definitely check out the link below. But it's like, okay, for physical touch, I covered this a little bit. It's like where, when, how. How do you like to be touched? Is it light? Is it hard? Is it soft? You know, what body part? Left arm, right arm, the back. Is it a massage? Is it, you know, what kind of physical touch are we talking about? Figure all of those things out and then just do those things. Okay? It's not hard. The more you can dig and the more niche down you can get. This is where the business side comes in. Okay? The more niche down. If I put an ad out there, like for right now, I'm making a video for a young parent who is married and fighting with her partner over domestic duties. That's pretty niched, right? So I'm probably, if I've done my advertising right, I'm speaking like directly to you. You're like, this guy just so gets it. Like this guy's like, maybe I'm speaking in new strategies, but I'm clearly speaking to the right person here because that is who I'm trying to speak to. I know the situation because I've been in the situation. But I could have run an ad. Like I could have run an ad for you know, multi-million-dollar international e-commerce companies, which is also one of my specialties, right? I could have run one of those ads. It's not that I don't have the information. I could have run the ads and directed the traffic to this video that you're watching right now, but the audience, the actual content that I'm creating, it wouldn't line up with the ad, and there would be a total disconnect, and they would turn off, like they would just read the title and then navigate away and think that I had made a mistake, right? So the more niche down but with you know, the more niche down you can get, the more specific you can get on these love languages, the harder those things are going to hit. And that has an effect. If you've got 5 minutes in a day and you can only do one thing, if I've got 5 minutes in a day and my wife knows that, I'm like, what can I do for you in the next 5 minutes? She's probably going to say, make me a cup of tea and make the bed. And I can do that. So you can figure out whatever, like list 10 things that I can do for you. Okay? 10, always, there's a magic number here. Okay? Anything that you can find 20% of. You can find 20% of anything, but I'm like, list out 5 things. Tell me the one thing that if I could do any one of these 5 things for you, I'm not even going to go through the rest. If you could list out 5 or 10 ways, 15, whatever, in which I could touch you or spend time with you or praise you, or if I could give you a gift, keep it within the budget. If I could give you a gift, what was the other thing? What was the other one? Acts of service. If I could do anything for you, list out 5, 10, 15 things. Figure out whatever 20% of that it's going to be. And say, if I could do one of these things for you. If I could only do one of these things for you today, what would it be? If they don't know, tournament it out. There's easy ways to do this. Okay? Put it in a tournament. Double elimination. You know? Losers brackets. Check out a software called Challonge. Okay? CHALLONGE.com. Put them all in there. Go back and forth. It's worth it to spend the 15, 20 minutes that it's going to take in order to do this, okay? Because if you can figure it out, if you can figure out the hot button, it's like a switch that you can flick. You know, all of a sudden the love tank goes like that, skyrockets, okay? It's full, it's brimming, it's overflowing. That's good. Now, why do you do this? Why do you do any of this? Why do you put in the effort? Why is it you, not him? How come he's not spiritually leading you? Because it's your marriage. I told you earlier that the Jewish word, the Hebrew word for mother is actually home. This is your home, so make your home. The guy, he's the clay. You're the putter. Anybody who's ever told you that he needs to be the spiritual leader, if you're a Christian, or if you're Christians hear that a lot. If you've heard that from anybody, you need to like omit that from your brain because it's not true. Okay, both of you are spiritual leaders, and you need to lead him, especially in terms of growth. Who was made last? We're talking about Christianity here, Judeo-Christian background. Man was made, and then woman was made, okay? So who is the more perfect being? If we think about all the way that this went, you know, animal, like amoebas and water and all that kind of stuff, and eventually there's a progression there, right? So who is the pinnacle of creation? Female. Females are the pinnacles of creation, and therefore they are closest to God. If this whole spiritual thing is weighing you down, if you're not, then just like omit this. But the bottom line here is that women are stronger than men. That's just the truth. Okay? So you got to be the drill sergeant. Okay? If you want an excellent book on this, it's called Guardian Angel. I can't remember who the author is, but it's what in Hebrew is known as the Ezer Kenegdo. It's what Christians say is the helpmeet. It's not. It's much more accurately translated as like I'm your drill sergeant. I'm the person who is forcing you to grow. So why do you do this? Why do you learn what leverages him? So that you can use it. So you can use it smart. You can use it wisely. Okay? And apply the pressure. It's just pressure on the, and as long as you've got good intentions, which you do. You want a happy, blissful marriage full of hot sex? So does he. Okay? So, that is it for today. As I said, check out the link below. I'm giving this book for free. I cover it much more in that book. All right? I've got a course and all kinds of stuff like that. But this is giving you a little taste into how I work, how systems and optimization can actually be applied to your world, and how you can see real positive results from it. All right? Thank you very much for watching. Adios.